It was a crisp autumn morning when I stood at the altar, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest, watching the woman I loved walk toward me in a simple white dress that seemed to glow under the soft light filtering through the chapel windows. Her eyes, once dimmed by pain and loneliness, now sparkled with a joy that mirrored my own. But as the officiant began to speak, a wave of memories crashed over me. Memories of a mistaken turn down a hospital corridor, a room I never meant to enter, and a life that changed forever. How did we get here? Let me take you back to the beginning, because this isn't just a love story, it's a testament to the unexpected twists that fate throws our way. And just as I was about to say, I do, a shadow from her past threatened to unravel everything we'd built. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was early spring, the kind of day where the rain had just stopped, leaving the world smelling fresh and full of promise. I was rushing through the sterile hallways of St. Mary's Hospital, my mind a whirlwind of worry. My best friend, Mike, had been in a car accident the night before, nothing life-threatening, thank God, but he'd broken his leg pretty badly and needed surgery. I'd gotten a text from his wife saying he was in room 412, so I hustled past the nurse's station, clutching a bouquet of get-well flowers I'd grabbed from the gift shop downstairs. The hospital was bustling, doctors in white coats barking orders, patients being wheeled around, the incessant beeping of machines echoing off the walls. I turned left instead of right at the elevator, my first mistake, and pushed open the door to what I thought was 412. But it wasn't Mike in that bed. Instead, there was a woman, frail and pale, hooked up to an 4-drip and a heart monitor that beeped steadily, like a metronome counting down time. She looked to be in her mid-40s, her hair thin and wispy from what I later learned was chemotherapy, her eyes sunken but sharp, like they held stories untold. The room was empty, no visitors, no cards on the nightstand, no flowers to brighten the drab beige walls. She turned her head slowly as I entered, her expression shifting from surprise to a faint, weary smile. "You must be lost," she said, her voice soft but steady, with a hint of amusement that caught me off guard. I froze, flowers in hand, feeling like an idiot. Yeah, sorry. I was looking for room 412. My friend Mike," I started to back out, but she waved a thin hand, stopping me. "Don't apologize. It's nice to have company, even if it's accidental. I'm Eleanor. What's your name?" There was something in her eyes, a quiet desperation mixed with genuine warmth, that made me pause. I could have left right then, found the right room, and forgotten the whole thing. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped inside, pulled up a chair, and introduced myself as Alex. Little did I know, that simple act of kindness was about to pull me into a world of heartbreak and hope. And as we talked, she revealed a secret that would change my life forever. We chatted for what felt like minutes but turned into an hour. Eleanor told me about her life, how she'd been a schoolteacher for 20 years, shaping young minds with stories of history and literature. She loved books, the kind with worn pages and dog-eared corners, and she spoke of her favorites with a passion that lit up her face despite the pallor. But then came the diagnosis, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, aggressive and unrelenting. It had started with stomach pains she ignored for too long, thinking it was just stress from a recent divorce. Her ex-husband, a man named Richard, had left her 2 years earlier for someone younger, taking their savings and leaving her to face the bills alone. Her family? Estranged, her parents had passed away young, and her only sibling, a brother, lived across the country and hadn't spoken to her in years over some old feud she didn't want to dwell on. "No one comes to visit," she said matter-of-factly, but I could hear the ache in her words. "They gave me 6 months, maybe less. So here I am, waiting." I shared a bit about myself too. I'm a graphic designer, 38, single after a string of failed relationships that never quite stuck. My life was comfortable but empty, filled with late nights at the office and weekends binge-watching shows to avoid the loneliness. Talking to Eleanor felt different. She listened, really listened, without judgment. By the time a nurse poked her head in to check on her, I realized I'd missed visiting Mike entirely. I promised to come back the next day, not sure why I said it, but feeling compelled. As I left, she squeezed my hand weakly. "Thank you, Alex. You have no idea what this meant." That night, I couldn't sleep, replaying our conversation. What if I hadn't taken that wrong turn? And then, the next morning, I got a call from the hospital that made my blood run cold. The nurse's voice was urgent. Eleanor had taken a turn for the worse overnight. A complication from the chemo, her white blood cell count had plummeted, and she was fighting an infection. "She asked for you," the nurse said, which stunned me. Me? A stranger she'd met by accident? I dropped everything and raced back to the hospital, my mind racing with questions. Why me? What could I possibly offer? When I arrived, she was asleep, looking even smaller in that bed, her breathing labored. I sat there for hours, holding her hand, whispering encouragement even though she couldn't hear me. When she woke, her eyes found mine, and she smiled faintly. "You came back." We talked more that day, delving deeper. She confessed her fears, not of dying, but of dying alone, forgotten. I told her about my own regrets. A strained relationship with my father, dreams of starting a family that seemed further away with each passing year. It was cathartic, like we'd known each other forever. Over the next few weeks, I became a fixture in her room. I'd bring books from her favorites, Jane Austen, Hemingway, and read aloud, my voice filling the silence. She'd share recipes from her childhood, simple things like her mother's apple pie, and I'd sneak in treats from the cafeteria that the doctors probably wouldn't approve of. Mike recovered and went home, teasing me about my hospital girlfriend, but I brushed it off. This wasn't romance, it was companionship, a lifeline for both of us. Eleanor's doctors were amazed. She started responding better to treatment, her energy returning in small bursts. "It's the company," one oncologist said. "Loneliness kills faster than cancer sometimes." But just as things seemed to improve, a bombshell dropped. Her brother called out of the blue, demanding she sign over her estate, claiming it was his right. The stress sent her spiraling, and one night, as I held her while she cried, she whispered something that stopped my heart. "I wish I had more time, Alex. Time to love again, to feel alive." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken longing. I didn't know how to respond, but in that moment, something shifted inside me. Was this more than friendship? I started noticing the way her laugh, rare as it was, made the room brighter, how her insights into life cut through my cynicism. I began researching her condition obsessively, alternative treatments, clinical trials, anything to buy her time. One evening, after a particularly grueling chemo session, she looked at me with those piercing eyes and said, "You've given me hope, Alex. But what if it's too late?" I promised it wasn't, but deep down, doubt gnawed at me. We faced our first real challenge when her insurance denied coverage for an experimental drug that showed promise. The cost? Astronomical, over $50,000. I couldn't let her give up, so I started a crowdfunding campaign, sharing her story anonymously at first, then with her permission. Donations trickled in, from strangers moved by her resilience. But her brother found out and threatened legal action, accusing me of exploiting her. The tension built, and one stormy night, as thunder rattled the windows, Eleanor collapsed in her room, her fever spiking dangerously. The doctors stabilized her, but it was a wake-up call. "We need to fight smarter," I told her once she was coherent. We resolved the insurance battle by appealing with letters from supporters, and miraculously, it was approved. Her brother backed off after a heated phone call where I laid out the facts. He hadn't been there, I had. As spring turned to summer, Eleanor's health improved enough for short outings. Our first was a picnic in the hospital garden, where she felt the sun on her face for the first time in months. We laughed about my terrible wrong turn story, turning it into our meet cute. Feelings deepened, stolen glances turned to held hands, then a tentative kiss under the blooming cherry trees. But love in the shadow of illness isn't easy. She had bad days, racked with pain, doubting if she could burden me. "I'm dying, Alex. You deserve someone whole." I'd counter with, "You're more alive than anyone I know." Our second challenge came when scans showed the cancer shrinking but not gone. Hope mingled with fear. Could we build a future? By midsummer, Eleanor was discharged, moving into a small apartment with home care. I helped her settle, spending nights on her couch, cooking meals from those childhood recipes. We explored the city slowly, walks in the park, visits to bookstores where she'd pick out volumes for me to read. Her energy grew, she even started tutoring online, reclaiming her passion. But intimacy brought vulnerability. One night, as we lay together, she traced scars from surgeries, whispering insecurities. "I'm not the woman I was." I assured her she was everything. Our bond strengthened through therapy sessions we attended together, addressing her past traumas and my fear of loss. Friends and family noticed the change in me. Mike joked I was smitten, my sister urged caution. But love doesn't listen to caution. As fall approached, Eleanor's remission seemed within reach. We celebrated small victories, her hair growing back in soft curls, gaining weight, dreaming of travel. But then, the third challenge hit like a freight train. A routine checkup revealed a new spot on her liver, metastasis. The doctors gave options: more aggressive chemo or palliative care. Eleanor wavered, exhausted. Maybe it's time to let go. I refused to accept it, researching specialists, begging for second opinions. We argued for the first time, raw and emotional. "I can't watch you suffer for me," she cried. But in the quiet after, we found resolution. We'd fight together, on her terms. She opted for treatment, and I proposed. Not with a ring, but with a promise in her favorite park. "Marry me, Eleanor. Let's make every moment count." Tears streaming, she said yes. The next 8 months were a whirlwind of love and trials. Chemo rounds left her weak, but our wedding plans gave purpose. We kept it simple: close friends, the chapel at the hospital where it all began. Her brother even reached out, apologetic, attending as a gesture of reconciliation. Remission came just in time, a miracle the doctors called unprecedented. Standing at that altar, as I finally said, "I do," the shadow from her past, lingering doubts, faded away. We've been married for years now, traveling, living fully. Eleanor's story taught me that love finds you in the unlikeliest places, that wrong turns can lead to right paths, and that hope is the strongest medicine. If this story touched you, hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring tales of real-life miracles. Thanks for watching.